Hello, my name is 64 Gamer Girl 42069, and today I'm coming at you with the news. So the biggest news right now is that a small-time streamer Kevil was DDoSed on stream. Let's talk about it. In this clip, you can see here that Kevil is currently getting threatened to have a DDoS happen. Let's watch.
Kev.
Yeah?
10 seconds.
Either you cash out $50 right now, bro, or booting your fucking Wi-Fi offline, bro.
Okay, good luck.
4 has located a bomb.
Alright, bro, watch it. You said good luck. Get rid of this shit right now, bro.
Of course, the streamer didn't believe that it was going to happen. How would they have gotten his IP address? We'll find out how after the break. Yes, I was DDoSed on stream. It sucked, but all they really did was cause me to go to work, because immediately after that stream ended, I went to work and I got paid for 3 hours roughly to just do a shit ton of research on how DDoSing works and how they probably got my info. And I know exactly how they got it. And we're going to have some rules from now on to prevent these things from happening in the future. But I kind of wanted to make this video so you guys could know exactly what happened and how you guys can protect yourselves also. I know I have viewers who are also streamers or also want to make videos or want to stream and just aren't doing it yet. So I want you guys to be protected in the future. So first of all, what is a DDoS attack? So DDoS, or just a DOS attack, is denial of service, DOS. And a denial of service attack is when unwanted traffic is sent to your IP address. So all they need is your IP address number, and they can start throwing information at you. So then you have the DDoS, which is the one that the term everybody uses. So a DDoS is the distributed denial of service, which basically means a group of computers are attacking you instead of one computer. And those groups of computers are typically a botnet is what they call it. And those are computers that have viruses, and those viruses, like the owner of that computer doesn't even know that their computer is doing these things. It's just happening without them knowing. So you can protect yourself with a good antivirus software, so that way you're not a bot. And then they would, if you're one of their bots, then they would know your IP address. But typically only big, like, really good hackers have their own botnets. Typically, most people attacking small streamers like me are using free botnets that they found online. This is illegal. If you got caught doing this yourself, you would get major fines, and I don't recommend being a DDoS attacker. So this video here is a really, really good visualization of a DDoS attack. You can see on the left there can be up to thousands of IP addresses, computers that are attacking one location. This specific attack reached 20 gigabytes per second, which is huge. So this just really shows how an attack looks like visually. So the way you get DDoSed is by them knowing your IP address. And there are certain ways that your IP address can get found. So anytime you connect to a website, your IP address is exposed to that website. So you need to be careful about what websites you go to. Stick to websites that are known to be safe. And then there are certain games that actually gives out your IP address, and Minecraft is one of them. But don't start freaking out that the Craftadia server is why I got DDoSed. It has nothing to do with that server. Basically, if you connect to smaller servers, so we're talking random little whitelist servers, those are the servers that those people they are for sure getting your IP address. The owner of every server you connect to is getting your IP address. You just need to go on trusted servers. So it goes back to only do trusted things. So how do you know if you are getting DDoSed? So for what happened to me, I know these were two amateur kids. Like, I call them kids. They sound younger than me. They're roughly my age in the video clip. You could tell that these aren't legit hackers. They probably think they're hackers. They tell their friends on Discord that they're hackers, but they are not. They are doing super easy things, and I'll explain in a little bit why I know they're freaking amateurs. But typically, if it's somebody using a free botnet, you'll see like your internet will come in waves. So it'll go down all of a sudden, and then it'll come back. And then it'll go down, it'll come back. It'll go down, it'll come back. And this is because they're scheduling time with the free botnet to attack you. They can't maintain the attack forever because they're using a free botnet. But if you somehow pissed off a real hacker, they could never turn off the attack until you change your IP address, so that way the attack is going to somewhere that isn't you. So that's really your biggest protection, is changing your IP address and then not letting them find it again. If it's a real hacker you pissed off, which is so unlikely as a small Twitch streamer, it's basically impossible unless you say something horrible on a stream and it then gets clipped and is popularized. Basically, you're not safe, and that's a sad thing to hear, but it's the truth. But for amateur people like who was attacking me, I can keep myself safe just by following a couple rules. We'll talk about that in a second. So last thing to talk about for the DDoS is how to reset your IP address. There's a lot of different ways to do that. You can change your computer's IP address. You could just Google how to do that. But basically, the one you do want to reset is your router, your Wi-Fi router or your modem. You want to reset those. So the way you do that, depending on your internet service provider, you want to completely unplug and disconnect your internet for anywhere between 10 minutes to 12 hours. I personally don't know mine. I don't know how long I'm supposed to do that, but typically your IP address will time out given by your internet service provider, and then once you plug it in, they'll assign you a new one. So yeah, that's basically the safest way to temporarily get rid of the DDoS attacker, is by changing your IP address. And you can always go to different websites. Just Google what is my IP, and Google will tell you what your IP is, and then you can do those steps and then do the same thing to test if it worked or not, if it changed. So the reason I know that my attackers were amateurs is because of how they obtained my IP address. This was a mistake I made. So now on Twitch, anytime I'm streaming, there are going to be no links allowed in chat, because this is how they got my IP address, is because I clicked on a link. Somebody asked, hey, can you listen to my song? And then give me like, they wanted feedback. And I was like, oh, sure, that sounds cool. Like, why not? So I clicked on the link, and the link said it was a Spotify link, is what I read. I thought it was Spotify. So when I clicked on that, it took me to YouTube. Okay, that was weird, but I didn't really think too much of it. And then the attack happened roughly 10 minutes later. So I'm 95% sure that that's where the attack, or how they got my IP address, was from that link. Looking back at Twitch chat, it wasn't Spotify, it was like spot.io. So it was definitely a sketchy link, and I should not have clicked on it. That was my bad. Links are now banned, and you honestly should keep links banned, if you want to be a streamer. Otherwise, the same thing could happen to you. Next, I also played Rainbow Six Siege with them. Now, I'm not sure if this is the case anymore, but it used to be that Rainbow Six used computer-to-computer voice chat. So playing any game with somebody won't let them find out your IP address. It's only when your computer directly talks to their computer. When you're playing a game, your computer is talking to the server. The server talks to them. The server can't get DDoS that well because servers are typically huge. They typically have so much bandwidth that the attacks aren't even noticed. So another way you could protect yourself is by increasing the amount of bandwidth you have. Like, you could pay a ton of money to have server status bandwidth just for your streaming computer, and you would be immune to most DDoS attacks unless it's a giant botnet that's after you. But that's obviously not that realistic for a small-time streamer. So you want to make sure you're playing games that are where your computer only talks to a server. You don't want to do any computer-to-computer games. That's one thing. You don't want to click on links in chat. That's another thing. And then you don't want to show anything on your stream. You want to be careful that you're not giving away information by, you know, some games actually show your IP address in the settings. You want to make sure you don't ever click on that so that way they can't see. Sometimes they're protected, like sometimes games can tell when you are using OBS and they'll hide that stuff, but sometimes they don't. So you got to be safe, you got to look ahead, you got to know what you're playing, know what you're doing. And that's about all the information I can give. It's really kind of a bleak outlook on it, that it's actually really easy for this to happen to you. But let's say it is happening to you. Then the best thing you can do is to just end your stream. I know that's what they want. So for me, I didn't end my stream. I kept streaming. They kept taking it down. I kept putting it back up, and it just repeated for a while. And then they just kind of got bored and they left. So I finished my stream and I went to work, and then I changed my IP address. So that's really your best option, is to just end your stream, unplug your Wi-Fi, let your IP address get reset, and then once you turn your computer back on, don't click on anything in chat is the biggest one. Don't click on links. Only let your mods post links in chat. If somebody wants to, like, my new rule is if somebody wants to send me a link, they need to whisper it to me or send it to me on Discord. That way I know who they are. Yeah, that's my new rule. If you want to send me a link, you need to send it to me on Discord, and I might not even click on it. If I don't recognize your name, then sorry, I'm not going to look at what you sent me. That's just how it's going to be from now on. That's probably the biggest rule. This would not have happened to me if I hadn't clicked on that link. So hopefully this information was a little bit helpful to you. Maybe this was a little scatterbrained for me, the way I was explaining everything. But yeah, that's really all I can say about the attack, and it's whatever. I'm kind of over it already, so I think we're going to have some good streams in the future, and nothing like this can stop us. So thank you guys for watching. My name's Kevel, and goodbye.